Yo, what is good, everyone? Welcome back to a special episode of the Renegade Roundtable podcast here. I am Jeffrey Kirby. As always, we are joined by Jared. Jared, how in the hell are you?
Doing all right on this wonderful Thursday, I assume. But yeah, that's it. Doing all right.
And as you can see, we are joined by a special guest. We are joined by JT, John Toth of Draft Nation. You guys have seen him here on the channel before. Earlier this year during the draft show, or when we've done mock drafts, we've had him on during the draft season. Great stuff. He does some great work. Draft Nation does some great work as well. And it's not just for football; it's for all sports. Anything draft related wise, make sure to go and check out draftnation.com. JT, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, guys. All three J's here. You can't go wrong with three J's.
Yeah, no wrong.
And it would have been, you know what? It's even better when we have Joe on too. And then it's like we got the J's.
Four J's.
Before we get started, I need to take a minute to myself for this. The Yankees lose. Jared, for those that don't know, JT, you may not know, Jared is a Yankees fan, and so anytime the Yankees lose, it puts enjoyment to me. So to see the Yankees lose the way they did, down 5, or they were up 5, they blow it. Oh, it's wonderful, and yeah. Jared, I'll let you have the floor for a minute.
I have no words to say.
Oh, yeah, by the way, hey, Juan Soto, bye-bye.
Yeah, he's going to LA. That's what makes baseball so terrible, man, is like these two teams are good. They should be back next year because you only got 4 or 5 teams that even have potential really with the salaries anymore.
The fact that like you look at like the Guardians for an example, the fact that how low of a payroll they have, and the fact that they were able to make it to an ALCS, I think was pretty incredible. And Jared, I want your opinion on this for half a second. Now, obviously, the Yankees beat us in a gentleman's sweep 4-1 in the ALCS, but to me that seemed like the closest 4-1 series.
It did. It definitely did, but because not everyone showed up, basically, is what I will say during this whole postseason run. Judge never showed up till game 4 and 5, pretty much.
Showed up when it was too late.
Pretty much Stanton carried us this whole series, which big shout out to him. But pitching is awful still, not as I expected. The pitching's still not good. It's Garrett Cole and then everyone else. But I can't say much. It's just, yesterday they lost by defense and errors. That's the reason why they lost. 3 errors you cannot have in the World Series.
Jared, I'm a Pirate fan, so you just mentioned we have players in the World Series every year that we used to have. So I'm glad you mentioned Garrett Cole. We used to board him. We're like an adoption house. We had him for the first 5 years. Like we're gonna have Paul Skeens for the next 4 years, and then he'll be gone. So,
oh my gosh,
it's good. It's good to see these guys perform. I always liked Garrett Cole when he was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and him and Clay Holmes, gives me a heart attack every time. But other than that, it is what it is. Congrats to the Dodgers. They won it. They did it. We just couldn't finish the job. Couldn't finish game 5.
It made me happy. It made me happy. All right, back to the regular. Let's get Jared back up into the spirits. Let's get us all up into the spirits because, damn it, the Steelers have done it again. The offense looks good. We look like an NFL offense. Now, our expectations were extremely low compared to what we have seen in the last many years with this offense. But the fact that now we've actually seen 3 straight games of us scoring close to 30 points, we have back-to-back games of having 400 total yards of offense. It looks heavenly.
It looks really good, and they're going up against some good defensive lines and fronts. The Jets were pretty good. The Giants had a good front 4 at least. Dexter Lawrence had he did what he could. He still had a good game in Brian Burns as well. but the offense is doing better than I expected for the past couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson's making throws we haven't seen here in Pittsburgh since probably 3 years. 3 years before Ben retired, where he was able to make that throw he made to Pickens on the sideline. I haven't seen a Steeler quarterback make that throw in about 5 years, 6 years. I admit I wasn't a proponent of Wilson taking over for Fields. I thought Fields did a good enough job, but now that I see Wilson running this offense has a ton of potential right now. And I still like the idea of having Fields as a weapon. And you're playing like, say, Cincinnati in a 17-14 game. It's late in the game, third quarter. You bring Fields out for a series just to shake up their defense a little bit. I still think Fields will see the field this year. Maybe not as a starter, but I think he's gonna do something to help us out as the year goes on.
Yep.
Would you say maybe some red zone packages, because he's more mobile than on the goal line?
I agree. Yeah, you get inside the 10-yard line, put him in shotgun and spread out the offense. I mean, then as a defense, you have to know that, hey, we're playing man to man. We got to have somebody watching Justin. You got to have somebody on Justin Fields at that point. So I think the Steelers, they haven't done it yet, but I would not be shocked if Tomlin really hasn't had a chance to be a gadget type coach like Cowher was. I don't know if you are old enough to really remember Cowher back in the day when with Cordell Stewart and Antoine Randall. Well, there were so many different little quirks and packages that we used to run as a Steelers. It was fun. And I think with Fields, you could still use that here and there. I mean, without taking, give Wilson a breather for maybe a series. If our offense is stuttering around in the third quarter of a close game, why not? I mean, bring him in. He still can throw a good long ball. Maybe not as good as Wilson, but he can still, you have to pretty much respect everything when Justin Fields is in there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't necessarily, I didn't become a fan like my first season until 2005. So the year that we won Super Bowl 40. And I remember us running the gadget play with Antoine Randall to Hines Ward in that Super Bowl. So yeah, so going to that. The one thing that it was funny. So when they mentioned a couple weeks ago that Russell Wilson was going to be the starter, and me and Jared kind of went back and forth on this. Jared was more on the, I just want to see, I think it should just stay Justin Fields as a quarterback. And I said, I have the intrigue. I want to see with my own two eyes over these next couple weeks what this offense will look like with Russell Wilson. And now we're here. Now we can have that conversation really quick. And clearly we've seen that while obviously Russell Wilson's not as mobile as Justin Fields, he can still run. He still has the ability to make plays with his legs if needed. And obviously the arm talent, the deep ball has become a threat now, which is something that we've been wanting for a long time, but we never really had it. Now that's becoming a thing. The running game has been opening up. And I think you have to give a huge shout out to the offensive line also with this offense too, because when you look at the running game, I know the offensive line has been an absolute crapshoot this whole year in terms of having different combinations of players. Dan Moore, he's been a consistent left tackle, consistent left tackle. You were missing Isaac Seumalo. Then you went from, it was supposed to be Nate Herbig. Then it went to Zach Frazier. He's been hurt, so Ryan McCullum's had to step in. And then you had the right guard situation where it was a mixture of Spencer Anderson. Now you're seeing rookie Mason McCormick. And then on the right side, Broderick Jones. And then Troy Fautanu was supposed to be a part of this. He got hurt for the year. So it's been an absolute crapshoot. But the fact that we've been able to see this offense start to gel, the offensive line start to gel, start to develop together as a cohesive group, I think that's been something that's been really nice to see, especially having multiple rookies and first or second year players in this offensive line.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the offensive line has been a pleasant surprise. I mean, I thought Fautanu looked really good. He was starting to get being high praise of the coaches and looking good. And we lost him. That was struggled. Broderick Jones has been, for a better word, right now. He's still a mess. I mean, he's getting beat consistently. For him to be the future left tackle, supposedly, it's going to be your left tackle, especially when Fautanu comes back. It's amazing. Mason McCormick, Ryan McCollum did a great job last game. I mean, he did what he could do. I mean, he got, like you said before, Jared, Dexter Lawrence is going to beat you. He's going to be like Aaron Donald. He's going to be in the backfield almost every play. It's just a matter of making plays around him, which they did for the most part. But I thought Zach Frazier played well when he's been there. The offense has been a pleasant surprise. I mean, but let's just be honest, as Steeler fans, we're still playing we still play by the sword, man. We still play these close games where, and be honest, guys, you're watching this game going, all right, when's the turnover going to happen? When is TJ Watt going to do something? When's that the pick going to happen? And that's sort of scary to live by that, but we've been doing that for about 40 years now here in Pittsburgh, where it just seems like the defense always knows when to make that big play. But this seems fun to watch, man. There's no doubt about it. And they're starting to like. I like the way they're bringing around these younger guys. Like Darnell Washington now is finally starting to see some time and some catches. And man, when he catches that ball out in the flat, it looks scary, doesn't it? You have Darnell Washington at 6'7" going up against like a little cornerback trying to tackle him in the open field. It's almost scary looking. And I like the way they're doing stuff. I think Calvin Austin slowly making his mark on the team. Of course, last game was his best game as a Steeler, besides the game early in the year where he had the long cut catch, slant catch. But I like what they're doing. I like is for the people to get on Tomlin. I think they've done a really good job of bringing these guys along the right way.
Now, one thing I want to say too is, so JT, earlier this year at the Draft Nation Draft Show, one of the guys that was on stage with us, Ed Trope, I had him on the podcast earlier this year. And the one thing that I remember him specifically saying is that he thought that the Steelers were a wide receiver away from being a legit contender in the AFC. Well, as of now, we haven't gotten that wide receiver, and we're still being talked about as legit contenders. In this whole wide receiver trade market has been an absolute, it's been a story of, especially for the Steelers. We were talking about Brandon Ayuk. That doesn't happen. Then Devontae Adams. That doesn't happen. Deontay Johnson's name kept getting brought up. I mean, but I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah,
well, you couldn't trade for him anyway,
That's
regardless. Right. So then the next name that comes up to mind is like, okay, well, now you got a guy like maybe Courtland Sutton, which I wouldn't be willing to trade as much for him. I'm hearing
that in Darius Slayton. I'm hearing Slayton too, and Slayton wouldn't be as who we just played against the Giants. He wouldn't be much of a return there. I wouldn't mind that maybe a guy like that. You're right though. The receivers are crazy right now. I mean, you still have other teams looking for them now too, because Houston's got to be in the market for a receiver now after losing Diggs and Nico Collins being hurt. But I think I caught you off before your question. But do we need a receiver? Is probably what you're going to be asking, right? Do we definitely need that receiver? And I don't know if we really do in our offense. I really don't. I think the way our offense is built, that you could have like 3 number 3s be your number 2, if that makes sense. You don't need to have 2 solid. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I love to have it. And once we get into what they're going to do next year in the draft, I'm hoping this team needs receivers. There's no doubt, but they can still win with what they have. I mean, I think they proved that.
And it sucks too, obviously, your Draft Nation. So, we're going to talk a little bit about draft and stuff also. I mean, we were hoping that Roman Wilson was going to be someone that could come in and be the impactful player.
Yeah.
Clearly that has not been the case. And it seems like this has just become a lost cause year, which sucks for Roman Wilson. Because he was someone that I thought legitimately could have been a threat for us as a underrated slot guy that could be the safety blanket, that could be someone that will do some of the dirty work. But obviously that's not going to be the case this year, which sucks. I do like the fact also that Van Jefferson he's been doing, he's starting to pick it up a little bit now. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is we're seeing guys who we were like, oh, where is he at? He's on a milk carton, this and a third, blah, blah, blah. Now these guys are starting to elevate, and overall, pretty much, let's be honest, 10 of the 11 offensive players this year, we're giving a lot of, we're really happy for and all that. And then obviously there's the one guy, and there's Broderick Jones. And rightfully so, though. He's been someone that he cost us that touchdown on the first drive. He's cost us on multiple times. And so now, Jared, you've heard me at nauseum talk about how they've handled him has been an absolute crapshoot, but still doesn't show, with how bad that he has been.
No, yeah. He still got to do his job correctly. Like I said, he cost us a touchdown this week. We basically had 3 touchdowns taken away from us that game, 2 or 3. Pickett's going to get his foot down. The penalty by Broderick Jones, and I don't remember the other one, but there was a couple touchdowns. That this game should have been close at all, pretty much. Against the Giants this past week.
So we got our first comment here of the show here from our man Ken Sterner here on X. Says, I am hoping the Steelers bring in a run stuffing defensive tackle.
I haven't heard much. I haven't seen much out on the market for that. Being honest, I think a defensive tackle, a top-notch one, will cost you more than what the receivers are going for right now. The receivers are going for nothing. I mean, the Deontay Johnson trade was a joke. If you think about it, they got Deontay Johnson and a 6th for a 5th. So basically, they almost just handed Deontay Johnson to the Ravens.
Yeah, and they just said, he's a rental for the Ravens. So he'll be a free agent at the end of the year. Do I think that a run stuffing defensive tackle is number one priority? No, but I also wouldn't be mad at it. Like if you want to bolster up your defensive line, a position group that has been working out very well for us, but that's one of those positions too where it never hurts to have too much depth either. No. And you can see what someone like a Dexter Lawrence. Now I know we're talking top echelon here, but like when you have someone like that he can be impactful for you. Ken here says that was a freebie for the Ravens. Pissed me off. Yeah, I think that it depends on how you look at it. It depends on what side of the wheel you are on with Deontay Johnson. If you are a fan of him, you're like, well, why? Because he's a good wide receiver. Why we have to face him twice a year? Or if you're on the other side and say, well, he sucks, he drops the ball, he goes backwards, he's a cancer in the locker room, this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. Then you're like, all right, good. Maybe they'll ruin that locker room for the Ravens. So, that one's very. You're
like I said, it's a rental, and they get a comp pick if he leaves. That's what it is. So.
Mm-hmm. And to get back to Ken's point, I mean, the defensive tackle, that's definitely going to be on our list next year for draft picking. But I don't think like for this year, I think our defense is playing fine. I think the only reason we give up a little bit of a long run here and there is just the aggressiveness of our defense. I think if we really knew a team was running the ball all the time kind of thing, they're not going to run the ball down our throat. They get these long runs on 2nd and long, 3rd and long, which it's a pain, but that could be tightened up. I think our linebackers are good enough. I think Patrick Queen, he's not maybe having the dominant effect that I thought he would be. Still 2nd on the team in tackles. Deshaun Elliott's playing out of his mind right now. Leading the team in tackles. I honestly don't think a change on the defense at all is really needed. I mean,
as of right now, and you do get Cameron Sutton back as another corner piece.
Now let's not forget too. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if he was on season-ending IR too. But again, talk about draft. Logan Lee, he was a defensive tackle that we drafted. I believe it was in the 6th round. If I'm not mistaken. Now, I don't remember. I know it was for a calf injury. I don't know if he's going to be out like all year or if it was just we're just waiting for him to get healthy and then come back and see if he can somehow make an impact. I don't know. I mean, there would be a defensive tackle, but he was kind of a smaller defensive tackle. He was. I want to say he was like in the 280s in terms of like the weight and all that. So he wouldn't be, one of those big beefy defensive tackles either. But we play a
3-4. I think Benton's fine up the middle.
Yep.
Ogunjobi and Hayward. I mean, your defensive line's fine right now. If somebody's going to offer you a stud, 8-year veteran for a 5th-round pick, and we have the money under the cap, then so be it. But I wouldn't mess too much with this defense. If anything, I would look at bringing in a veteran receiver if you think it's necessary, and maybe even a depth offensive lineman, just in case we go down with another injury here. Because I mean, especially in the interior of the offensive line. I mean, we're one injury away from really. If McCollum goes down, I mean, you're basically we're starting to get really down to the nitty gritty with the centers. So
hopefully, with this bye week coming up, we're gonna be able to get Zach Frazier back, because I was at that Vegas game when he got hurt, and when he went down, my mind went to the worst. My mind, the way it looked, my mind went to the worst thing possible, and I'm glad that wasn't the case, because he's been someone who has been balling out for us this year, and that's been absolutely huge for us with the interior part of the offensive line, because especially at the beginning of the year, Isaac Seumalo was out. Then you have Mason McCormick. So there was at one point of time where you were running 3 guys on the offense, 3 or 4 guys that were 1st or 2nd year players, because you had Spencer Anderson out there too. So, but yeah, the fact that with all the all the stuff that's been going on with this offensive line and how many changes we've had to make and this, that, and the third, the fact that we're 6-2 on top of the AFC North, it's been pretty damn incredible to see. And there's a chance that we could be better. And the 2 game, the Dallas game is annoying as ever. If you want to say the Colts game, okay, that's a legitimate. I mean, they're both legitimate losses, but you guys know what I mean. They're both.
We could easily be 8-0. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you start the Colts game off a little bit stronger than what we did, and I mean, the Cowboys game was just our defense for the first time all year, really just not being able to stop a team late in the game like that. I mean, they just drove right down the field. But I mean, you're right. I mean, and honestly, Baltimore's had a couple lucky wins where we could have, at one point, like a 3-game lead earlier in the year, and it was like, I think it was Cincinnati or something that they came back and beat Cincy late, and it was like, oh man, we could have a 3-game lead at that point. But I mean, it's the same as it's always been with the Steelers. Steelers find ways to win. They find ways to beat teams that you don't think they might beat, and then they lose to teams that, all right, like the Colts. I mean, come on. I mean, we play that game 10 times. I bet you we win that game 9 times. I ain't gonna say that about the Cowboys as much. They got some serious talent on offense, but I mean, the worst thing that happened to us against the Colts is Anthony Richardson got hurt, because Richardson plays. We win that game.
Not only that too, but the way that they executed the defense, running zone coverage against Joe Flacco. I mean, come on now. Joe Flacco, he's been in the league a billion years. He's seen it all. You can't run zone coverage against a veteran quarterback like that. You just can't. No. So we got another comment here from Ken here. It says, I had us at 12-5 before the season. I'm still there. Good start. And then also says, I love your adventures in Vegas with Uncle Jimmy, D, Bryce, and others. So appreciate that part. Hey, listen, 12-5. That, I mean, especially now as we're going into the quote unquote to the meaty part of the schedule here, which by the way, and you kind of figured it's not going to be quote unquote as meaty as it is now. Now the Commanders better than what we were expecting. We were expecting them to take a step, not what they're at right now. Right now, the Commanders are having the same step that the Texans had last year.
Yep.
Then you have the division games. I mean, you go 1, 2, 3, 4 straight games against the division. The Eagles, they're 5-2, but they're
not a scary 5-2 that I thought it would be.
And then
they remind me of last year's team a little bit, Philly. I don't think they could. To me, they could fall off the wagon here like they did last year, real quick.
Yeah,
just one of them teams.
And then you get another game against Baltimore, and then you have the Christmas game against Kansas City. Which, by the way, I am not going to sit here on Halloween and say that we're going to beat Kansas City on Christmas. That is not what I'm saying. However, as of now, that game doesn't look like it could be as much of a blow. I think we have a legit chance.
I think I got this. I'm saying Tomlin plays. We play up to good teams. We play down to our opponents, and I think the KC game is going to be a good reminder of that. I think at that point in the season, And let's get back to the divisional games too. I think Cleveland just got 3 times better by putting Jameis Winston in as a quarterback. So I would have rather played Cleveland with Deshaun Watson. I'm being dead serious with you. Like now with Jameis Winston, he's a gunslinger. Them kind of quarterbacks scare the hell out of me. I mean, like the Gardner Minshew's of the world, the guys that just go back there and say, I don't care, I'm throwing the ball. They scare me because I think quarterbacks
they have nothing to lose.
No, and they're quarterbacks that put numbers up against the Steelers where you get them rookie quarterbacks that are real tentative. They're the ones that we devour. But I think Cleveland's gonna be tough. I think Cincinnati's defense is. We should put up 30 or 40 against Cincy, but then again, you got to go against Burrow. You got to go against the offense there. Baltimore is going to be tough. We do got some tough games coming up, like you said, Jeff, in the second half of the season, and it's going to be hard to get to that 12-5. But hey, Ken, you're halfway there, man. I mean, you're 6-2.
6-2. I'm shocked that we made it that far. Beginning of the year, I had no idea where we were going to go with.
I can't wait. I'll be at that Baltimore game in a couple weeks, the 17th of November. I'll be there. I'm hoping to bring home a second victory of the year. I'm 1-0 this year. Hopefully, I can try and go 2-0 this year. And, I mean, those Ravens games, no matter how good they are or how bad we are, quote unquote, those games always end up being close. They always go down to the wire. It's very rare that you have a blowout. And, as what Ken here says is that we will be battle tested if we get to the playoffs.
Listen, definitely.
With this, if we can have success against this back end of the schedule, we will be legit contenders. Now, if we go off and just start falling off a cliff and start looking like complete trash again, well, then obviously we see the writing on the wall there. But
we're playing 3 games against Baltimore and Kansas City, 2 teams that are going to be probably ranked 2 or 3, one of the top 4 teams easily in the conference. So we will definitely be battle tested. If we come out of that 2-1, the 3 games against Baltimore and KC, then I think we're in real good shape with that matchup. I mean, you don't want to go 0-3 for sure, and we never do against Baltimore. We'll split somehow.
We'll split. That's just all it is.
And although last year we were able to come out, go 2-0 last year, that was nice to see, especially because we needed that final game.
Yeah. And Lamar hasn't played great against us every time he's played, but we'll see what happens. It's different every year.
Yeah, it is. Hey, if Cleveland can beat Baltimore, we can beat Baltimore.
Never know.
So we're live streaming also on Facebook. So a lot of the people who would be watching on there are a lot of them are Browns fans. And we all know that I am a absolute expert hater of the Cleveland Browns because, I got to deal with them assholes every day. Yeah. I know we're getting ready to be close to 2:30, and I know JT has to get off here in a couple of minutes. Is there anyone, because you are, with the draft, is there anyone that as of now the Steeler fans should be intrigued by a player that's coming out of the draft next year? I know I kind of put you on the spot there.
No, you know who I really we talked about it. I mean, even if we go out and trade for a receiver, we're going to need a wide receiver next year. I do think Roman Wilson's going to be a future player. I think what you see with the Steelers the last 2-3 years, the way they've been drafting is they don't necessarily get a ton of production out of these guys. Like I think Peyton Wilson's going to be a good player down the road. I think Roman Wilson's going to be good down the road. I think, like you mentioned, Logan Lee. I think even like last year, Corey Trice, he got hurt again, but he's another guy that.
And we got someone this year. That same example too. Not to interrupt you, but Ryan Watts, the corner from Texas.
Another guy that they were high on. So I think the Steelers just have this way of just plotting these players out. Like I said, the way they've been doing stuff with Darnell Washington, I could see him being not a Freiermuth guy that gets like 60, 70 catches, but I could see him being a dominant, guy that on 3rd and 8, you throw the ball to Darnell Washington, you're not bringing him down kind of thing. I think they're starting to throw the ball to him more. But if I was a Steeler fan next year for the draft, chances are we're going to draft, 22 to 32 in that range. I would look at, I like Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, and you're going to be watching the Ohio State-Penn State game this weekend. And there's he's not even the best receiver on Ohio State because Jeremiah Smith is
the best receiver in college.
He's a beast. He's a beast. There's no No doubts about that. I wouldn't say he's up there. Definitely, he's definitely one of the best. Definitely one of the best. The kid from Alabama is right there as well. The young kid as
I'm
well.
also biased here.
Oh, I know you are, but I like Emeka Ibuka. I think the Steelers fans start looking at the receivers, the receiving classes, as Jeff knows. Last year at the draft party, it's all we talked about. It's deep, so deep, and there's so much talent. Like McMillan from Arizona will go early. A couple of them other guys Luther Burden from Missouri. So you're gonna have the normal guys going to top 15, but in the Steelers pick, there's gonna be plenty of receivers out there, and that's what I would look at for that. And if I had to name a rookie of the year for the Steelers this year, guys, who are you calling rookie of the year right now? It's so easy. Come on, boys.
You talking about just Steelers?
Who's the Steelers rookie of the year right now?
Beanie Bishop.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Beanie Bishop easily.
So it's a great one of them great signings. The Steelers seems like it goes in a rotation every 3-4 years. We sign like an undrafted free agent, and it's like, oh my gosh, this guy. I mean, he's not doing nothing incredible. Like if you even listen to some of the stuff on PFF, and that his tackling and his defensive abilities ain't the greatest right now, but he's just in the right spot at the right time. As a rookie to have 3 interceptions in 2 weeks, you're doing something good. But But Jeff, I appreciate all you guys, what you guys do. Renegade Roundtable. If you get a chance, get on draftnation.com. All 4 sports drafts. The football one, that's all I do all day. I do 3 prospects a day. Watch video. Today I did a kid from Vanderbilt, a tight end. Eli, now the last name's going to surprise me now, but tight end that used to be a quarterback at Texas A&M, and the kid's phenomenal, runs a 4.5, 4.6 40. So that's how we are at Draft Nation. There's so many different players coming out, and you just go with it, man. The draft is the best part. Everybody knows the draft is the best part. And you're a baseball fan, Jared. Jeff, you know, like even baseball draft, you always want to see who your team gets. And baseball's a little different. You got like 4 or 5 years to wait, sometimes 3 years, but draft is the best part of the sports, man.
Absolutely. So obviously, JT, I know you got to get off here. Do want to say thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, you will see him again here, especially as we get into the draft season. You will definitely see him more on the podcast. Make sure, again, like you said, make sure to go and check draftnation.com for all your draft needs, and go and look. And they have all kinds of articles. It's a great website to go and look at. I look at it all the time. But JT, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys so much. Go Steelers.
Go Steelers.
Yeah, go Steelers.
Go Pirates.
Go Pirates.
Go Pirates. All right. So obviously, Jared here, I want to continue this conversation here. Because now with where we're at with the Steelers, we can have this conversation now. Where I was going to kind of maybe say we'll do a little bit of it this week, and then we'll save some of it for next week as well. We're going to kind of do like a State of the Union Steelers edition. Ironic that I choose to do State of the Union at this time of the year.
It's so close.
So close.
It's almost over.
Almost over. 5 days, baby. 5 days.
Tuesday can't come fast enough.
Here's the one thing that I will ask you.
Yep.
As we mentioned, we said that this week was going to be the week that we have the conversation about the quarterback.
Yep.
You've seen him now for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Are you ready? Where are you at? Where are you?
I go with Russ. So like I was with Justin Fields. You put Russ again. Another, I don't say week by week basis, but continue him as the starter. You know, he had 2 great games. You know, it took about a half for the first game to have to get the rust off of him. You just hope for him to continue and excel with this offense, which he's doing really well, throwing the deep ball to Pickens, Van Jefferson. You got Darnell Washington getting some big passes. Russell Wilson is the starter for the future right now. For the season, I should say. For the season. And Fields has been taking it very, respectfully. Not like, complaining about being benched or being the backup. He's learning from Russell Wilson as well. Getting leadership from him. See what he sees on the field, what he can do better.
Right. Yeah. Listen, the way if the way that we're able to push the ball down the field, the way that we're able to make this offense actually look good. Saw some stats today where, based on the last 2 weeks, if we kept this average going on, we'd be a top 5 offense in the NFL this year. Last couple weeks, we've averaged 30-some points a game. We're getting 400 total yards of offense. Najee Harris, the last 3-4 games, has been absolutely incredible.
And I'm going to say this now. Just re-sign Najee Harris right now. I'm just saying that right now.
And you know what? Going into this season, I would have said that's crazy. Not because of Najee Harris, because we saw him down the stretch last year. He looked good.
Yep.
So, but I think we're going to start seeing, there's always evolutions within the NFL where there are trends that for a while there's a certain position that becomes very important, and then they kind of get, like, at one point in time, middle linebackers were very important. Now they're kind of not as important. I think the running back position for a while, it was always just you can rotate guys in and out, but I think we're going to slowly start to see that change. I think teams are going to start to realize, hey, having good running backs can be valuable.
Yeah,
if you're the Steelers, why not go and try? Now, I'll be honest. So they did not pick up Najee's 5th-year option.
No, okay, which is not smart.
Well, I mean, in hindsight, it is. In hindsight.
Well, even before it was not that much expensive to re-sign.
Well, yeah, that is true.
Pick up the 5th-year option.
I do wonder if they're going to franchise tag him next year.
He'd probably be that player, because I think Jaylen Warren is also a free agent as well.
Right.
You see where I'm going with. You got two running backs. Your top 2 running backs are going to be pending free agents, and then you got James Daniels. You got your old lineman. He's probably
Daniels. I think is I before this year even started, before the injury, before the year even started, I could have told you he was gone.
Oh, yeah. Which he's not coming back. Trying to think any other more important free agents coming out.
Dan Moore, if I'm not mistaken.
Dan Moore is another one. That is correct. He is a free agent.
Now we'll see how that's going to go out. Obviously, now you'll have Fatanu.
And you got the quarterbacks.
Yeah,
2 quarterbacks are on 1-year rentals.
The biggest thing is what are we going to look like now? Next year we have the cap space. Next year we have $70-something million worth of cap space, and so we're going to have some wiggle room to play with.
Yep. And then I'm sure you want to pay Pickens maybe if you want to. I don't know how that's going to
be a conversation.
Another conversation. That's going to be featured down the line here. I'm trying to think anyone else on top of my head. No, I have to look at where it's too early to find out free agents. So I'm not thinking that far ahead, but
yeah,
that's just the future. But as of right now, the Steelers, 6-2 start is, better than I expected. And the quarterbacks are playing, both of them, Fields and Wilson played, Fields did his job for the first 6 weeks. He did his job. Wilson is doing it over the top now, because he's the better passer than Fields right now, and we see it. And I hate to say that some fans, they said, "Oh, Wilson's playing against the New York Jets and the New York Giants defense." Their defenses are actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
I forgot the Jets are up there in the top defense. So is the Giants. That front 4 is dangerous.
Yes. Luckily we got lucky with the Giants in terms of their secondary has been an absolute mess in terms of just the injuries. We all know that they benched Deonte Banks. That's
Yep. But I know Wilson's going to go against Washington next week.
When you come off the bye.
After the bye, but I know the defense is not the greatest, but still they're 6-2 as well right now. That's all, and Jaden Daniels is going to be something to go up against. It's a real it's a real test we're going to have after coming off the bye.
Yeah, and listen, it's going to be really exciting. And the thing is I want to see, especially when we get into that Ravens game, it's going to be a dogfight.
Oh,
it's going to be a war. How do the Steelers now? I'm not talking about TJ. I'm not talking about Cam. I'm not talking about Minka. I'm not talking about those guys. Some of the others.
Yep,
I want to see backs against the wall in a war. It's been a blood fest. It's been just an absolute. You're in the trenches, just going.
And you got
how do you respond?
You got storylines all over too. You got PQ and Deshaun Elliott going against their former team. You got now Deontay Johnson going against us as a former team. And Derrick Henry now. We see him twice. How we're gonna neutralize him? Because that once he hits that hole, you pretty much he's gone. You can't stop Derrick Henry. It's just interesting matchups that are gonna happen in the next couple of weeks when we play against the Baltimore Ravens here.
And the good thing now, the one thing and I was just looking at this earlier. I was having a conversation with my guy Riley. Shout out to Riley, by the way, if you're watching. We were having a conversation earlier this week where he mentioned Derrick Henry, and I looked at it. Derrick Henry historically has not been the greatest against us.
Oh wow, really? Well, that is very true.
But however. That can be totally different when you're in an offense that has the dynamic firepower.
Yep.
That Baltimore has. So
the different team. That's another thing too. Is you got Lamar. They could easily just fake put a read option, give it to Lamar instead, or they could do so many things different.
So we have a familiar name here for a comment here.
No. What's up, Pops? No.
Pop Sanchez says, "Hi guys, has there been any updates on trading for a wide receiver?" In terms of like real deal updates, no, there hasn't been really any name. I mean, that's been legit rumors for the Steelers. Obviously, there have been names of being brought up, and we actually had this conversation earlier with with JT earlier in the show, where he mentioned someone. Well, I mentioned someone like Cortland Sutton. He mentioned someone from like Darius Slayton. So those have been names that have been mentioned. But as of now, I don't see the Steelers making a move for a wide receiver. I think they're going to stay put, especially because now
it looks like.
I don't see a name that would be a real needle mover.
Yep, I totally agree. I think they're just going to roll.
Not saying that there are guys that won't move the needle, but if there is, it's minuscule.
I think the guy that will really move the needle, if they really want to go get a wide receiver, is Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton will at least move somewhat the needle a little bit more than Darius Slayton and Mike Williams, as you could say. But Denver's probably going to ask for a high asking price for Mr. Sutton, which the Steelers won't do.
Yeah.
So that's the only needle mover that I would see that will really change things. It would be nice. It would be nice to pair him up with Pickens on the other side. It would be very nice, but I don't think it's going to happen. I saw like a little article. Those are the third receivers that have been brought up. We'll see what happens. The trade deadline's next week, so we'll see what happens if the Steelers will do anything.
Yeah. We got another comment here from Ken here. It says, is there any other positions you see them addressing? In terms of the trade deadline, I don't think they make a move, which sucks considering that if this would be the type of team that you would want to make a move with, considering that you're 6-2, you feel really good about where you're at both offensively and defensively.
Yep.
However, I don't know if there's anybody out there
that's worth to go get for
that. Yes, that you'd want to go and actually trade assets for. And if there was going to be someone, like I said, it would be someone like a Cortland Sutton. But I've just going into this year, I kind of had a little bit of knowledge in hearing that there was not going to be maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 2 out of 10 chance that the Broncos let go of Cortland Sutton. But if the bottom was to fall out on the Denver Broncos, that there would be maybe a chance, depending on the where they're at. And right now they're 5-3. I don't see that being the case. And so I personally don't see anybody right now.
People thought Cooper Kupp for a little bit, but no, he's back with Puka, and then they're rolling right now. After they beat the Vikings, on Thursday night. They rolled there. I don't think they're trading Cooper Kupp anywhere. Like I said, I don't think there's any other position that they're going to trade. I think we're just going to roll with what you have. Maybe what JT said, maybe a depth offensive line piece, but if you do that, why just sign someone? If you think, I don't know. Well, like I said, I think we're just going to roll what we have is really what's going to happen here.
I think if there's another name that we could mention, I mean, we played him a couple weeks ago, Mike Williams.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I said Mike Williams a little bit earlier. That's what I said. It's either, like I said, when we talk about people, needle movers, it's Cortland Sutton. Then you got Darius Slayton and Mike Williams. We'll see.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think every other position is pretty good. Like we said a little bit earlier, we get Cam Sutton back. I don't think it's not going to replace Beanie Bishop over. He's just going to be a backup piece after, which is good. This is a great depth piece. Right after.
Depending on where Beanie Bishop, or depending on where Cam Sutton's at in terms of his conditioning and all that, could see maybe them try to run a little bit of dime. But if not, as of now, Beanie Bishop's going to be that guy still at nickel. Dude, how'd you snap your drive? Man, listen. So for those that don't know, going off topic for a half a second. So for those that don't know, I'm a big golfer. I love to golf. And yesterday I posted a picture of my driver snapped in half. How that happened, I don't know. I hit a drive. It was a beautiful drive because my driver yesterday was hitting. Maybe hitting a little too much. Put it back in the bag. And then I go to pull it out again. And I look and it has a big old crack in the hosel. I'm like, what the hell? And so it was starting to. It wasn't.
Oh my god!
And so I was like, well, I'm out of a driver. However, luckily yesterday I was golfing with my two guys. In fact, as soon as we get off of here, about an hour, going to play 9 before I go and hang up any trick-or-treating. Listen, up here in Northeast Ohio, it's 70-something degrees outside. If you don't, I'm getting it at any chance I can. Pause. But luckily my guy, Robbie, shout out to Robbie. He's a lefty too, because I'm a lefty. He let me use his driver. And needless to say, maybe it was a blessing in disguise. Maybe it was a time to say screw that driver, but it's gonna suck because I don't have a driver to play with today.
Well,
so for those, I might start a GoFundMe for anyone wants to know what I want for Christmas. I wear a size Callaway Paradigm AI Smug driver. You guys could always send it my way. I'd appreciate it. Maybe Jared could buy me one and fly it over with his private jet.
Oh, okay, you're so funny. But anyways, I think that's I
was gonna say that might be it. Next week. Next week's episode we'll do our real State of the Union address.
Oh god.
State of the Steelers address. Perfect timing now, huh? Ken here says big man strength. Maybe the Steelers could sign you for some D-line depth. Steelers, call me. You guys can give me a call. Other than that, I think that might be it for this week's episode. I do want to say thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you again to JT John Toth for watching. Make sure again to go check out draftnation.com for all your draft needs and wants. Till then, if you are watching on X, make sure to go and follow us both on Twitter. He's right over there. I'm right here. Go follow us both. If you're on YouTube, make sure to go and like, comment, subscribe, do all that. Yep. Tell your friends.
Yep.
And if you're on Facebook, well, hi, everyone.
And let's go Penn State this weekend.
Absolutely not.
Let's go Penn State.
Absolutely not.
My dad, Papa Sanchez is a Penn State fan. Hope you know that. So he's so definitely be rooting for Penn State this weekend.
Yeah, it's
it's a big weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big weekend. Hopefully, Ohio State can come back and he said,
Yep.
Over here we yell out, OH!
Oh.
It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good game. Again, if you haven't yet, like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on X, go and follow both of us on Twitter. And until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. If I was you, I would probably avoid social media at all costs next Tuesday. Yep. It's going to be an absolute pit hole of epic proportions.
The memes are going to be great, though.
Oh, Lord. And be sure to tune in next week for the Renegade Roundtable State of the Steeler address. I'll try and get us both a podium. And it's just going to be... It'll be the round. It'll be our show's logo with the. It'll just say "State of the Steelers Union Address." But until then, hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Thank you, Dodgers. By the way, once again, you knew it was coming.
Yeah, I did.
But until then, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Peace out, everyone.